Happy Tuesday, everybody. Mike and Matt back with you here on the Inside Bowling Show, episode number 12. It's Tuesday. I had to look at the calendar just before I turned the music down. I think it's April the 28th, Matt, but I really can't tell what the hell day it is. And I don't know why I feel that way today. Yesterday, I said I thought things were back to normal. Today, I'm a mess again. How are you today, Matt?
Doing good, man. I'm right there with you. I wake up, I don't know what day of the week it is. I don't know what day of the month it is. I don't know what the weather's like. I don't know anything. I feel like it's just been locked in my house and I have no idea what's going on in the world.
Yeah, and you've got you got a lot of stuff going on over there with you today. Those of you that are watching virtually on YouTube and Facebook Live, you've got a new headset. You've got a new
Yeah.
microphone. You're using your Beats now.
Yep. I reconfigured the internet again last night for an hour and a half and got the other computers hardwired in. So I'm the only one on the Wi-Fi. So hopefully that will make my internet connection not suck moving forward. So we'll see.
Yeah, and you've got one of our Inside Bowling shirts on, the Not Bowling Sucks shirt, and I think that's pretty appropriate for today. That not bowling does suck, and I want to talk about coronavirus again here. We've talked about it a few times. We don't get into it every day, but I'm looking at my Worldometer report right here, Matt, and it looks like here in the US, and I'm looking at the daily death chart, which is terrible for me to even have to say and speak out of my mouth right here,
Yeah.
but I do have some good news to report here for the United States, and from what I can tell here, looking at the report, our daily new cases have come down for 3 days in a row after peaking at our highest amount. So we are starting to see some dissipation. If that continues for 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on days, we might see some light here at the end of the tunnel and start to resume some sort of public activity. I'm not sure what that looks like. I'm not an expert in that regard, but I also saw my home state of Missouri. I don't live there now, but I did see that they're looking to reopen the entire state along with Kansas May the 4th. And that scares the bejesus out of me, Matt. It really does.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think my mom is always very consistent with watching the news and the new releases that come out as to what's going on. And I think, they said before we can start thinking about reopening and going through those phases, that there has to be a certain number of days in a row where cases are going down, or at least they're not increasing. And so I think we're getting close to that point where they're starting to think about reopening in phase one. And I know I had somebody contacted me yesterday saying that some bowling alleys in Texas might have permission soon to reopen at 50% capacity somewhat soon. So scary for sure. I just think we got to make sure that we're all following the proper precautions of when we do start reopening everything, that we're being safe and we're not just being careless and just trying to return to life as it was before this all started.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I experienced that 50% capacity bowling just before all everything got pretty much shut down. Nate, our t-shirt guy,
Yeah.
and myself, he's new to bowling and is just taking on the sport. And we went and bowled a couple of late night globals. And the last night we went together to go do this, we were placed, 2 lanes away from everybody, and they were even putting rubbing alcohol inside all of the house ball
Yep.
holes and stuff. So I got to kind of experience what that looks like before all this went down. I don't know if it was smart of us to go out and do some bowling or not, but we just couldn't be helped at the time. So,
Yeah,
um,
and I don't know if you caught this, Mike, but Kegel, in the recent times of coronavirus and people being really concerned with sanitation, Kegel is actually making strides to come out with different products that you can use for sanitation purposes to help bowling alley owners and proprietors make sure that everything is clean, from bowling balls to everything in the bowling center. So I think that that's pretty cool.
yeah, I agree 100%. I think that Kegel's trying to do everything they can. I know I talked to Chartrand a little bit, the CEO, even asked him to come on the program. And just right now, he's working on other things, and he's a little trying to figure out what he can do, and he's concentrating all his efforts on that besides shaving his head. But if you're friends with Chris Chartrand, you know what that's all about. But
Right.
Jeremy Witt has a question for us. We'll just answer a question here out of the gate. Looks like love the 3-pin showcase, buddy, on top of your cabinet. Can you talk about each one, what they represent? Sorry if someone asked this earlier in the weeks.
Yeah, no one's asked this, thankfully, but I'm gonna dive deep here, and I'll talk about these really quick. Um, before we get today's guest on here. So this was the Dexter USPC High School All American. So my senior year of high school, I was All American. So
Nice.
that was a pretty cool accomplishment. I think it was like $1,000 scholarship. I got this heavy ass pin too, which is really cool. So I'm grateful for this one. And then these two were both. Try not to break everything here. So these two were for the same tournament. There's a big JBT youth tournament called the Best Tournament. Anybody that's from the kind of Northeast, and I think a lot of youth bowlers just around the country know. There's a big tournament, and they make the lanes really tough. You know, you start with a house shot, then they make the lanes just brutally impossible for the rest of the event. It's a lot of match play games. A lot of great bowlers have bowled it, have won it, and thankfully for me, I won this also my senior year of high school, right after my senior year of high school, and then the following year I won it again, back to back years. And these are probably like, while it's on the youth circuit, it's probably two of the coolest wins of my career. It pays $5,000 for first both years, so this tournament has helped me quite a bit when I went to college, so that was nice. And also, a funny story here is something went wrong with the trophies the second year, and they printed all of the handicap trophies properly, and they printed all the scratch trophies properly, except for the champion trophy. And so if you look here, it says, I don't know if you can see it, it says second place handicap division. And
Yeah,
I can promise you, I didn't come in second, and I wasn't bowling the handicap division. But these are two really cool trophies. So shout out to the JBT tours. I think it's run through PJBT, so that's really cool. And then that big gold one up there in the corners from when I won the World Youth Championships in Hong Kong a couple years after these. So just pretty cool to have these bowling pins to keep around. I guess my small trophy case.
nice, nice, Matt. And I can't help but think, you know, maybe you and I should bowl the holiday doubles tournament together
Mike,
next
if
year.
you can get us in, man, if you can get us into that exclusive event, I will bowl with you.
Could you imagine
I
that?
have a habit actually of bringing people out of retirement because the last time I bowled it last year or 2 years ago when I bowled it, I bowled with Brian O'Keefe, and Brian O'Keefe never bowls unless he's bowling with me. So we bowled the only time during the year that he bowls is the Open Championships, and he bowls with me, and he bowls doubles with me. And now the only other time that he's ever bowled competition in the last, I don't even know how long, he bowled with me in the holiday doubles, and we made the cut. We were the cut, and we moved to the top 10 spots. So I would love to continue my tradition of bringing people out of retirement and bowling competitively. I know you bowled La Raza last summer, and that's cool, and that's great. I'm sure you had a great time. But Mike, if you bowl with me, we will make the cut. There's
Oh,
no doubt. Your ball roll matches up perfectly for St. Clair Bowl. There's no doubt in my mind. That little slow wheel. Oh man, I would be trying to keep up with you. That's the truth. I'd be trying to keep up with you.
well, speaking of holiday doubles, one of the favorite teams over the years that's come to St. Louis to bowl that event is Liz Johnson and Adam Barta. They've missed the last couple of years because there's been a competing event that Liz has gone and bowled, and Barta only bowls with Liz. So I think that's a good opportunity to bring in Adam Barta into our program, and he is at work today, so no video, just audio. But I'd like to welcome Adam Barta to the program now. Welcome, Adam. Are you there?
How you doing, gentlemen?
We're doing good, buddy. Thanks for taking some time in the middle of your workday to spend some time with us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I got my how do they say that? My radio face on, right?
You sure do. I was wondering if you broke the camera today.
It's quite possible with this look I got going on right now. So it's probably a good thing there is no camera on me. I
Can
sent
you
you a picture.
can you describe your look to the audience right now of what you look like today?
So we can all
Well,
close our eyes. Let's all close our eyes together.
yeah.
Visualize.
Okay. Yeah. Close your eyes and visualize that I'm not a small human being. I was at one time 310 pounds. I dropped myself all the way to 217 pounds. But thanks to the COVID virus and Marcy's cooking, I've probably put on another 20 pounds. But the problem being that my hair has grown to a point where I either have to choose from looking like Mr. Heat Miser or somebody that needs to register himself to not be close to school zones without saying what the word would be. So I did for you guys. I went with the choir boy look, but yeah, Mike, you'll see it in your inbox or your text messages. But
That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
my look of disgust,
We
but
we
that
I,
this
we
thing.
went from visualizing what Adam Barta looks like right now. I visualized this like a YouTube clip of like a fitness goal of Adam.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. This quarantine has not been good for my waistline. That's for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. That's funny. That's great.
Yep.
I should figure
Um,
out how I can put this up on the screen.
It's a great look, Mike. See, and I came back to
Mike,
my.
if you send it to me through WhatsApp, I can throw it up on the screen. So just forward it to me.
Yeah, I'll do that. We'll figure this one out. We will
Yeah,
figure
we
this
want
out.
everybody. We want. Oh, maybe we'll do that. We're just gonna keep that picture up on the screen the whole
There
time.
you go.
Um,
But I
yeah,
did come back to this room that I have here at work where I take all, not all of the pictures, but a lot of the pictures that I've taken over the years with just various people and the people that I've met. I've put it up on this huge wall. Matt, I don't know if you've seen it, but Mike, you've seen it numerous times where it's kind of like a fan wall looking thing. But it's something I'm proud of. Just the people that you meet in bowling and over the years and the great memories you take. I just kind of like printed them all up and put them on this huge this room that's back here. There's probably like 3,000 pictures back there now, but you'll see it, Matt, once Mike sends that picture to you.
great. Yeah, that's awesome, man. And speaking of the memories and all the people that you meet through bowling, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today was the world record that you hold. You hold the world record for the most strikes in an hour at 2,708, and you also for the most pins knocked down an hour. Sorry, and then you hold the record for the most strikes knocked down an hour, or most strikes in an hour, which is
Yep.
191. And you were doing those for a couple of great causes and different reasons, and it wasn't just about the bowling. And I know you also have a habit of helping families out on holidays like Thanksgiving and giving back to the community. So this isn't really so much focused about bowling. I just kind of want to talk about how great of a dude you are and for you to let people know kind of the motive behind why you do these things.
No, I appreciate it. In like you just hit it on the head. And things that I've been preaching and I'm trying to pass on to my kids is that each and every one of us have a special gift, and the sooner we can find that out, and the sooner we can use that to make the world a better place. And I always had a different skill set, with various different things, and in what I do for a living with collections, and thinking that that's gratifying and helping people out. But bowling has always been good to me, but not until my father became sick and after he passed away did I realize that I could potentially do something through bowling to help others and not only help spread his message and his story of uh, of hope and how powerful that is. And I'm just going to take a few minutes just to describe this, if you guys don't mind.
No, go ahead.
How this all started is that my father was diagnosed with cancer in September of 2010, and after he was diagnosed, they gave him a few weeks to live, and he was just devastated. Just like anybody else would be, the family's devastated, and you're scrambling for answers and second opinions, and I remember like it was 5 seconds ago. He looked at me and said, "Adam, what am I going to do?" I said, "Dad, outside of a second opinion, all we could do is hope. Fight like hell." And the story behind that is he ended up living 2.5 years. He got to see the birth of my son Blake, and got to see Marcia and I get married, and things that he never thought he would be around to see to experience. He hung on, and he ended up passing away in December, on December 24th, Christmas Eve of 2012. So where this all starts is that the following year, Marcy and I sat down and we're like, okay, well, rather than being sad and making this Christmas rough, let's do something in honor of my father. Let's spread his message to other people that are in the similar situation that could use that help of money or food or whatever it would be, in addition to spreading the power of hope. My dad beat the odds. Why can't you? And kind of share that story with people. So that following year in 2013, we delivered to a few families. They were affected by cancer, and the response was just amazing. So stemming to getting into these Guinness records is that in 2014, November of 2014, there was George Ferlingos. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with him, but he was from Australia. He had this Guinness record, did a really cool YouTube video that was done by him and Storm, and they did this thing where they built it up, and he had this record. It was 2,132 pins in an hour. So I get tagged on these Facebook posts, and it's like, Adam, you got to do this, blah blah blah, and I'm like, guys, I'm 300 pounds. This dude runs marathons. Not gonna happen. So few months goes on, and it keeps escalating. Craig Elliott reaches out, Lori Mraz, Hammer reaches out. They're like, you got to do. I mean, this is an opportunity for you to do something cool, with your social media base and something cool. But more importantly, I started to see it as an opportunity to where if I could do it the right way, I could create a foundation in honor of my father and help raise money, and we could deliver it to that many more families. So my focus changed a lot, and it changed even more so when I saw this Facebook post where they said Adam should be more worried about his weight and lasting an hour than beating the record. So I'm like, okay, well, I mean, you guys know me well enough. It's like game on, let's do it. Let's use it as an opportunity to raise some money, and let's see what happens. So apply through Guinness, which is not an easy process. And my wife and I created a foundation, Barta Nation Families Foundation, where we created this thing where we can bring in money and help deliver to families. So the practicing of it, the very first time I practiced, it was, you want to throw it with the most pins in an hour. 9 is okay. So I'm shot after shot after shot after shot. Marcy's sitting there, and I'm like huffing and puffing over the ball. And I'm like, how long have I gone? Like 40 minutes? She goes, 12 minutes. I'm like, oh my God. So now it's in my head, and I'm not mental or anything, but it's like, dude, you better worry about lasting the hour. This is stupid. So anyway, practice session, I did twice a week, 400 and some shots an hour. It was unbelievable what it did, the toll on your body. Long story short, the TNBA offered their services. Craig Elliott offered his services to do the live stream up in Wickliffe, Ohio for the most pins in an hour. Again, the record was 2,132. Not until the Tuesday before I was going to bowl the TNBA did I beat the record by 80 pins. I'm like, okay, you can last the hour. You're not going to make a fool of yourself, and you can beat it. Get to the point, TNBA, I finished second to Haggett. So right after that, Elliott's like, let's go. And Marcy's like, how you feeling? I'm like, oh my God, this is stupid. I'm like freaking tired. She goes, well, you better suck it up. So here we go with the record, and then ended up 2,708 pins. I beat it by 500 pins. I have no idea to this day, what took over my body and how I even freaking did that. But all of what that was for was strictly the foundation and helping other families. So that turned into when I was down bowling the Lucy with Kayla Bandy, Boyce Lejeune reaches out and says, hey, my daughter's really intrigued by your record. She would love to meet you. Is there any chance that, if you have time that you could stop by and see her? I'm like, absolutely. So Kayla and I and Ginger Bess and Natalie, we meet up with Boyce, and here he says that that Paige, which is his daughter, she's at the Texas Children's Hospital, which Boyce kind of gave a heads up. He's like, hey, the floor that she's on, these are all sick kids that are terminal, and it's not the best of scenes. Are you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, I've seen sick people. I mean, watched my father die, but it's like it's a whole different ball game when you see a sick child. So get to the hospital. As soon as that elevator opens up, there's this 4-year-old boy, he probably weighs like 30 pounds. I'm like, oh my God, like this is real, and that could be my kid. And you talk about a punch in your gut. And just right then, and I'm not even to this girl's room yet, and I'm already like upset. So I get to Paige's room. This whole room, you guys, was filled with Captain America, Superman, just all superhero stuff. Not one time did this girl talk about how sick she was, her illness, just no negativity, just everything positive. And she has this Mustang that her uncle is going to buy her for her 16th birthday, and she wants to drive wants to be a nurse and all these things. So as we talked about the record, and I said, what, Paige? I said, if I ever do another Guinness record, I'm going to do it in your honor. And, um, not really realizing what I was getting myself into at the point. I just knew that if I ever did one, I didn't have any plans to do one, that I would do it in her honor. Why not? It's a good thing to do. So as I'm leaving, Boyce says, "Hey, just so Paige is very sick, and she, may not have that much longer to live. And if you're going to do this, you better do it right away." So this was in August, and as quick as we possibly could, everybody that we had on board before, Turbo, Hammer, Logo Infusion, Craig Elliott, um, we made this thing happen, but it was going to be in my local center, and this record was going to be for the most strikes in 1 hour. And we did this, and I'm sure you guys have seen the shirts around, but the picture that is Paige on it, and the theme behind it was Promise to Paige, because that's what it was. This was all about Paige and sharing her story and helping also with the foundation, but also her family. So get everything built up. Practice session was just as brutal, if not worse, because now your focus is throwing strikes, because 9 does you no good. So there was some, planning going on there as far as how to go about saving some energy and still being able to throw strikes. But anyway, 2 weeks before the record, Paige passed away. She got to see the jersey. She got to see all the planning, and just complete devastation. She passed away, and my mother and my mother-in-law flew the Lejeune family up to witness this record. Flew them up, put them in a hotel room, and they didn't know what to expect, and I didn't know what to expect. I mean, it's your hometown; you would expect some support, but the key with how we were trying to raise money was you had to get people in the building, because we had so many donations with um, Chinese basket and just bowling balls and everything else, but that you can't raise a lot of money if people aren't there. Anyway, I would say between 500 to 700 people were on site to witness this record. And again, the Lejeune family didn't know what to expect. And Scott and Ron Killian with Ron's Sign Shop, they did all the banners and the scoreboards, and they donated everything. So here, the record was 176 pins, and with about 7 minutes left, I was behind what pace we had set, or I was supposed to be at, and here I ended up throwing like 17 in a row with like 5 minutes left to pass the record. And the screaming and the yelling and the joy and the emotions were just unbelievable. And one of the cool parts of that too was Larry Lichtenstein was there. And I know you guys know who that is, but I went back to listen to his live stream part, and he's like, I've never witnessed, a Guinness record before, and to witness what this was for is probably the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my bowling life. And for someone like that, to say that, I mean, the things that guy has witnessed in his life, to give you a compliment like that should, really sets it in. But we were able to raise almost $11,000 that day, half being for the family and half for the foundation. But and this thing, the family foundation's turned into a monster. I mean, we've delivered to well over 100 families. I think we delivered this year to, 10 or 12 families. But yeah, and the message we deliver and the joy with these families is truly amazing. So thank you for letting me share that. Sorry for taking up, too many minutes, but it is worth sharing.
No, without a doubt. I don't think there's anything to apologize about. And I think that that's just all incredible. And one of the amazing things about people like yourself, and there are a few others in the bowling industry. Chuck Gardner has his Foundation Bowl for Life, and Dell and Carolyn Ballard, Doran Ballard have their Ballard versus the Big C, and there's the Barneses have their work with JDRF. And I just think it's so great to see all these bowlers come together and work hard to make it more than just about bowling and make it about something bigger. And I want to change things up a little bit, and I want to put things on a little bit of a somewhat happier note here. And I want to show everybody what Adam's working with right now. So I think we're just going to continue the rest of the show like this. Honestly, this way when people are rolling down, they're like, "Oh my God, Barta, what is that? What's going on there?"
I tried to hide my 6 chins by taking a picture from above versus below. So
it's all about the angle, man. It's all
that's
about
right.
the angle.
That's what Marcy said.
Adam, I have a couple of follow-up questions to your story. Two things come out of that for me. Number one, I'd like to circle back to the very beginning of the story when you lost your father. You and I had just gotten to know each other a little bit. I was kind of breaking onto the bowling scene with Inside Bowling, hosting some tournaments and that. And I was really looking forward to you coming and bowling the holiday doubles that year. And I particularly remember when I look back at the history of what we've done with Inside Bowling, there's some moments that stand out to me. One of those moments is that year when you came in and when you sat in the booth and we talked about your father, and you had a really big decision to make, whether you stay home for dad and family or if you get back in the saddle, head to St. Louis and bowl the holiday doubles with Liz Johnson. And could you tell us just a little bit about your thought process in coming to St. Louis and how you felt lacing them up right after your father had passed?
Yeah. And you definitely had me choked up there, and you've got me choked up now. But um, the decision wasn't too difficult of one. I mean, I had to get my Marcy's blessing, and she's so supportive of everything that I do, for bowling, and sacrificing family time is one of those things. But my family's very supportive of that, and we sat down and talked about it. Is the timing right? Um, is it too soon? And for me, it didn't feel like it was too soon. And another part of that is that I didn't want to let someone else down. If it was a singles tournament and I wasn't already committed and obligated to do it, it may have been a different story. But any opportunity that you get to bowl with one of the best, or in my opinion, one of the best women bowlers ever to walk on earth, you never want to turn that opportunity down. And it was, yeah, I think it was a week after he had passed away. But the decision wasn't honestly too difficult. It was getting my mind off of it, and being around friends, and just kind of like a little change of pace rather than staying home and focusing on just him not being around anymore.
And Liz Johnson and you have a great relationship, and you've missed the last couple of years of the holiday doubles. We're looking forward to having you guys back, and looking forward to that, of course, as always. And you guys have quite a little fan base in the St. Louis market just because you guys have bowled together. And I believe you finished second twice in that event, right?
We finished second back-to-back years. Yep. To Adcock and Queen, and I think it may have been Adcock and Queen twice. No.
Well, they did win back to back. I don't remember if it was them.
Yeah, that was it. They beat us 2 years in a row. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, you're welcome, guys.
And a lot of people talk about that tournament being very lefty centric and how the lefties dominate, but Barta and Johnson are both right-handers, and so are Adcock and Queen. So everybody come bowl the holiday doubles right or left-handed. By the way, my
That's
Yeah.
right.
my second follow-up question for you, Adam, is I just watched this thing on YouTube over the weekend with this guy named Mr. Beast. He's like the biggest thing on YouTube. He connects and unites everybody together. He's doing things for good causes, such as planting trees, millions of trees all over the world. He did that last summer. And the guy's just got a very inspirational YouTube channel. And if you were a YouTuber, Adam, you could potentially be Mr. Beast. And the reason why I bring this up is over the weekend after I watched this paper, rock, scissors raising money for coronavirus, a cure and helping the hospital workers out, I thought to myself, man, how could Matt and I do some sort of like telethon on the weekend with this show and bring all these bowling people on for say 72 hours straight or something like that. And it went into my mind and out of my mind in about 2 minutes, right? But then after listening to your story, and I knew we were going to have you on and I knew we were going to go here, but now there's something going through my mind that this is something that should actually happen, right? Like this is more of a priority now. I don't know how I do it, but it's on my brain more after talking to you. And the reason why I bring that up is it does mean that you are an inspiration to others. We hear your story and now other people want to act out and do something for it, whether if it's donating to something you have going on or doing something themselves. And you were inspired by your father, And I just can't imagine how many people have been inspired by passing that along, by listening to your stories and wanting to do something. Have you had people over the years say, "I did this because you did this," or things like that? Any of those types of stories?
Oh, and I am not exaggerating by saying this. It's thousands, thousands of stories. What I'm sure you guys have heard of the thing "Pay It Forward," okay? And the lady that I work for here is her and her husband are extremely generous people, and they did a thing one year where it was kind of like "Pay It Forward." But my biggest thing is like what I had mentioned earlier. Every single one of us has a gift, and you making the world a better place doesn't always have to mean giving somebody money or anything else like that. I mean, it's simple things like if you have an old neighbor and you see that she takes her trash out and it's somewhat of a struggle for her to bring her trash can up to her door, go pick up the trash can and bring it up to her door. You know, it's little things like that that add up to be this monstrous thing. Like I said, it doesn't have to be money. I mean, for me, spreading the power of hope and that message was a very important thing. But these people were truly struggling. But in my situation, I had an avenue and I had the support of people in the bowling industry that would supply me with the tools I needed to raise money. And that's the thing about this bowling world. This isn't about Storm products. This isn't about Hammer products. It's not. It's the bowling world and the people in it are truly amazing people. And in the time of need and the time of struggle, we don't care if you're where it's coming from. It's just the fact that we're helping people. Period. And like you said, Chris Barnes, the Ballards, everybody, you're on to something, here for sure, in that you could get everybody to unite. And for the most part, you don't hear too many people like at that Lucy doubles. I mean, what Donna does and her crew is just unbelievable. You always hear about it, and I've read about it, but to be there to witness that, the fundraising is truly amazing. They don't care what ball staff you're on. They're just looking for support to help others with breast cancer. So I mean, for me, it's again, it goes back to it doesn't need to always be about the money. Do you need money there to facilitate things? Absolutely, but cutting your neighbor's grass, go rake their leaves. And just to add one more thing, I mean, you want to make the biggest impact you can on your family and your friends, and have that positive reinforcement, and to know that your kids are doing the right thing. My son Logan, I've got to give him some credit here. He did these. Him and Marcy did these blessing bags. For his senior project. Of all the things you can do, he had this thing as senior, these blessing bags where he delivered to a battered women's shelter, and two other homeless shelters. And these bags were toiletries and snacks, non-perishable stuff. Like, I forget what the number was, 400 or 500 bags. He did this on his own as a senior project. So seeing that trickle to him and what he's done for other people is to me it's unfreaking believable. So the impact, he impacted 300 or 400 people's lives in one day. Why can't other people do that? You just got to sit back and think of the little things you could do to make someone's life better. That's it.
Yeah, great advice,
Couldn't
man.
agree more. And I think also there's a positive effect where it really just makes you feel good. Like my girlfriend lives in Colombia, and on every Wednesday night before this whole coronavirus happened, her and her family would go to the specific part of the city in Bogota, and they would feed 40 to 50 homeless people every single Wednesday night, and they would spend the day making sandwiches, making hard-boiled eggs, making a specific tea. And I went and I did it with them a couple of times. And after I did it, I was like, what am I doing with my life? I should be doing this all day, every day, because it just makes you feel so good to know that you're giving back to the community. So I really commend you, Adam, on all the things that you do for bowling and all the things that you do for just for humans around the world, because it's it's pretty incredible to see somebody use the platform of bowling to the fullest of its capabilities, and I'm proud to call you a good friend.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Adam, also, not to overshadow all the charitable things that you've done, but you've got a hell of a bowling career as well. And I want to dive into that a little bit. A couple of interesting things for me is, I talk to a lot of people in the industry, and I think we even asked Dave Wadka. I believe it was Dave Wadka, as my memory's starting to go a little bit. Who's the best bowler he's ever seen that would have won a title that didn't go on tour? And immediately said your name. And I've heard that from a multitude of people. You've got a very established amateur career as a bowler. My first question is: have you ever considered the tour earlier in your bowling career, and why did you determine that you should just stay amateur?
I did, and part of me still wants to go do it. I mean, ever since I was a kid, I mean, I lived at the bowling alley and watching bowling on Saturday, on ABC. Just but for me, it was, and I'm not saying this in an arrogant way, but I always thought that I had the ability to go out there and compete. But for me, I felt that I had to make a decision early on in my career that, are you going to chase your dream, or are you going to turn your focus to make a career out of something else and kind of like become a weekend warrior? So for me, an opportunity where I've been at this job now for 22 years, I chose the path of stability. I mean, here I've got, for me, it's a little different now because I've got a family of 6 now. But even when I was single, I mean, this opportunity of there was no glass ceiling here, and you could make good money, but I had benefits, I had retirement, 401k, ESOP, profit sharing. So for me, um, does part of me regret not going out there and fulfilling the the mega question in my head is the what ifs. There's no doubt. I mean, I still have a dream to go out and maybe one day on the senior tour. I don't know where that will lead me, but I do regret not going out, but I don't regret. And even this pandemic has kind of opened your eyes for me to realize that if I was on tour and that was my only source of income, um, that I'd be hurting right now. I mean, right now I'm not hurting, and you can't strike forever. The thing for me is there's going to be a time where your ball stops striking, and at that point, what do you have to fall back on? Could you go into the bowling industry? Probably, but ultimately, what is there for you to fall back on that's going to be there for when your ball doesn't strike anymore, and you want to be able to retire and have a pension and income, things like that. So um, that's it. And a few years ago, back at the World Series,
Yeah, I was going to go
um,
there next. Yeah.
you know, I I I told Marcy, and Marcy, again, being unbelievably supportive. She's like, "You're stupid if you don't go. They're letting amateurs bowl. Go try it." So um, for me, I'm like, okay, why not? I don't bowl on these patterns, but what's the worst that can happen? I mean, I'm an amateur, and these guys are seasoned professionals with, they've got the resources, but I had resources too. I've been on staff forever, and I could have gotten a ball if I needed to, but um, for me, it was like, okay, can you hang with these guys? You're in their sandbox. These guys have seen these patterns. They see them develop. They see them transition, and whatever. So what the heck? I took my league balls, and I remember Rob standing there behind me. He's like, "Is this what you got?" And I'm like, "It's what I got, dude." So I think I ended up drilling 2 balls during the week. But long story short,
Well, let me
um,
interrupt you for just a moment because I was covering this event and I remember being there with you and talking to you. Two things happened there, and I want to set this up.
okay,
The way the tournament worked was you had to make it into, I believe, the top 16 each animal pattern. And if
right,
you did, then you were inserted into a bracket, right? So you had an opportunity to make it on, I believe it was 3 animal patterns and then try to qualify for the world championship was what you were going out there to try to do. The PBA opened it up to amateurs that particular year. You and Marcy talked. I got to go to Reno. I'm going to bowl this thing. I particularly remember that you bowled 300 in one of the events, and I'll let
Yep.
you tell the story of how many cuts you made and how close you were to the world championship.
Yeah. First pattern was the cheetah pattern, and I bowled 300. That's my favorite pattern, just playing out toward the gutter. I have most success playing out that way just because of, my style of game. But yeah, and there were 3 animal patterns, and I had good success on. I think the Viper was the last one, and I forget the one in between. It may have been Scorpion, but I kind of maintained on that pattern. I was like in the middle of the pack, and then on Viper, I had a really good run of like 2 or 3 games there in the middle, and at the end, I'm kind of like watching, the cut, where this cut's at. It was like plus 50 whatever, and I remember coming to this pair, and the pair was absolutely freaking awful. It was not even close to what any of these other pairs were doing. And 2 of these guys on my pair, um, you know, I forget who. Yeah, not Angelo. Anyway, these guys immediately changed balls and moved like 15 or 20 left. I'm like, what the hell? So they knew. And I'm like, I'm sitting here, I'm struggling through 4 or 5 frames, and finally I was like, screw it, you got to jump in with these guys. Long story short, I ended up being the number to make the cut for the World Championships. And then, I crossed with Belmo, and that was an experience. He came up and shook my hand. Super, super nice guy. And he says, I don't care what anybody says about me. I'm not a shimwrecker. And he took this ball that looked like a freaking snowball and just ripped it right through the middle, just jacking around. But, it was a funny story. But no, the experience was amazing. I did have good success. I lost a Rhino Page in the round of 8 or whatever that was. And then, World Championships, I don't know. I may have moved up 7 or 8 spots, but that was somewhat of a relief for me, knowing that, never really bowling on those patterns. These guys see them all the time. I had good success, bowled 300, and didn't really have much equipment to play with either. So it makes you think that if you see that more often and there's more resources available to you, you would think that, your outcome and your success would only be better. So that kind of made me feel good. I mean, you don't bowl anything just to cash in my mind. I mean, you bowl to win. Not winning is just a result of your performance. But yeah, I mean, I was pleased with my results, my finishes.
And you've also had some really good success at the USBC Masters. As a matter of fact, you've done some things I don't believe anybody's ever done before. Could you share with us some of your best accomplishments at the Masters and the things that you've done there? I know you've bowled some 300s
Yeah,
there.
I've got 3 300s in the Masters. I bowled it. I think this past year would have been when it was in Vegas. I missed the freaking match play by 1 pin. I wanted to stab myself. But yeah, 3 300s. I have one in Vegas. I had one in New Mexico and one in Milwaukee. And I think at the time when I may have bowled it in New Mexico, I never really looked it up, but Jan, I don't know if you remember Jan with USBC and Tom Bodecker, they had told me at the time that it was the youngest one to ever bowl 300 game. But I'm sure that's been beaten by now. But I never looked it up to see anything about that. But yeah, I mean, I've made match play a bunch of times. Dave Wadka, funny story. Dave, if you're listening, I know you're going to know where I'm going with this, but I was bowling Dave in the match play. I believe this was the round, of 16 to get to 8 in the winner's bracket. So I left a 7-10, and Dave, turned around the couch, and they weren't fist pumping. Dave had more respect than that, but in his stomach, he's like, hell yeah, I just got to get up there and mark. But I freaking picked up the 7-10 against him. To this day, he always teases me about it, but yeah, I picked it up to advance against him in match play. But yeah, I've always had good success in that tournament. Like I said, 3 300s, and this past year I missed the match play by a pin. But at least I know I still can be relative and competitive for sure.
What is your bowling tournament list? Before quarantine going on, what are you bowling these days? What are you bowling the most of? Are you still bowling as much as you ever have, or still a weekend warrior? You got 4 kids now. I mean, how do you do it?
Yep. Like bowling, work, and my kids. In the order of priorities, it's family. My full time job, then bowling. But No, I mean, I still, do the league thing and do a lot of promoting through there, do a lot of promotional stuff, loyalty things back to, the Hammer brand. But no, I mean, I pretty much bowl every weekend. I bowl the big amateur stuff, your Bud Light challenges, the Masters I had planned on bowling this year. Your bigger events that you could bowl. Um, I had intentions of bowling holiday doubles again, but Liz had an obligation overseas. But I mean, pretty much anything I could bowl, I'm bowling it. And I've been able. The kids are old enough now where I could bring them with me, and they could kind of experience that. So yeah, there's definitely not been any breaks. It's just a matter of picking and choosing and what my time available is that. But yeah, it hasn't slowed down.
That's great.
Yeah, Matt, what do you got for Adam today?
I don't know. I mean, I think Adam did a pretty good job of helping everybody get to know him and helping everybody understand. I think that the important thing that we try to get out of the show is that we're trying to display what a wonderful platform the bowling industry is and the bowling world is. And sure, we like to talk a little bit about bowling, but I think the thing that Mike and I most like to talk about is the other stuff that people don't necessarily know about, or the things that aren't talked about as much. And I think that watching what you do for charities, for the bowling industry as a whole, for just other people, I know I keep kind of repeating myself here, but I just think it really is amazing. And I think that in an industry where you touched earlier about, you chose stability. You chose to go to the route where you would have a little bit more consistency, or probably a lot more consistency than if you were to just go out and live the tour life. And I think it's great to see people where sometimes, it's hard to be, it's hard to have that positive outlook, and it's hard to give to others because you feel like, there's not as much for you. So I think it's just great for people to see that there's always room, whether it's money, whether it's by just doing a kind action, there's always room to help other people. And again, I just think you're an awesome dude. And I've heard so many Adam Barta stories over the years, and I'm glad that we got to share the appropriate ones here on this show.
Yeah, keep it with the appropriate ones.
Yeah, there's three. When I think of three, if somebody came to me and said, you need describe Adam Barta in 3 words, right? One would be great, and that is to describe bowling. Big heart. I know it's more than 1 word.
We'll put a hyphen in there and kind of try to make it.
There you go. Would be your charitable thing, and then humor would be the other one.
One of the funniest dudes I've ever met. Without
the relationship you have with your brother is a whole show in itself.
Yeah, there's another show for that.
Moms in the car, and the videoing of that, and the posting of that online. And it really kind of ties into the whole Jim Valvano speech, Jimmy V Foundation, which is laugh, cry, you have a good day. And I really think that's what describes you. I think your path that you've chose, you've stuck to it. You've been successful at life. You've been a family man. You've gone through a lot. You've done everything you possibly can with what God's given you to be able to do good unto others. And you still like to throw the rock around as much as you possibly can and make sacrifices to do so. So that's a pretty complete life cycle there. And you've got a lot of time left here on this earth. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what other things that you do throughout your career as a fan of yours, of just observing everything that you do. People can find you on Facebook. You joined Instagram last year. Could you tell people how people can find you and keep up with all the things you have going on?
Best thing, and I appreciate that, would be on Facebook. That seems to be the biggest following. It's Adam Barta, and then in quotations, Barta Nation. You'll see the link there. The profile picture is a picture of my family, and this thing has grown into an amazing thing. I do well when bowling league season was in. We do contests each week with ball giveaways, and when I go to tournaments, depending on how things are going in the tournament, if I make the finals, I'll put if I win, you win kind of thing to kind of like keep people engaged in following the tournament, but following that, if I were to win the tournament, I'll pick one person at random that, to win a jersey, bag, bowling ball, whatever it be. But the biggest thing on my page that seems to have the biggest success, would be the Guess My Series. And the thing behind that is it's a league thing that I do on Thursday nights, but I think the important thing is that it doesn't take any time or any thought, and people treat it like a lottery. I mean, I was reaching 6,000 people a week just guessing, just in that thing, and just the keeping people engaged, interested, and coming up with new ideas and things like that. But yeah, if you guys want to, if anybody is interested, please check out that page. I'm putting things up there all the time to help people out and
Promoted our
contests.
show.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. But
Love it.
yeah, it's a great thing. I think I've got, I don't know, maybe 14,000 fans on there. But the Instagram thing, I'm still kind of working my way through. It's my fault, and it's probably a sign of laziness. But I've got to figure that out and get that boosted up. And I know, Mike, I'll probably circle back to you and Matt at some point to get some help with that. But I definitely use the Facebook as a platform to reach so many people in various ways, and it's definitely been successful. So,
2 final questions before we let you go and let you get back to work. Again, we want to thank you for your time today. Number one, how many 300s are you up to now?
214.
214. That's a big number.
214.
I'm going to start practicing. I'm coming for you. And the second thing is you've had an incredible career so far in the United States Bowling Congress Open Championships tournament. ABCs is what they used to be called. How many Eagles do you have?
3 Eagles.
Jeez.
3 Eagles. Yep.
And those events that they came in were
team in 15, team in 17, team all events in 17, and then I think I was 4th or 5th in singles that year. So yeah, I had a top 10 in doubles with Hugh Miller, and that was the previous whatever year that was. But anyway, several top 10s, but 3 actual Eagles, and we finished third in team all events.
Forced to be reckoned with at the Peterson tournament every year. So another great tournament for
that is my tournament there, boy. That was number 1 on my list for many years. So yeah, I've got great. six top 5s. A win in 2 seconds and 2/3. So jeez. Yeah.
And a future TMBA Hall of Famer for sure. Adam, it's been a pleasure spending some time with you today. Thanks for coming on the program. Thanks for promoting the show, and keep doing everything that you're doing, buddy.
I appreciate it. And I can't tell you guys, I can't thank you enough. I mean, Mike and Matt, you guys do unbelievable thing. When I'm on my lunch break, I'm watching you guys every day. And, the people you have on are great. And honestly, if anybody hasn't said it yet, from the people in the bowling world, we do truly appreciate everything that you do, and keep up the great work. You guys are unbelievably talented. So thank you.
Thanks for buddy. The kind words, Adam.
Thank you.
Take care, bud.
All right, Matt. Well, that's Adam Barta for today's show. Our first non-video interview, but it was still really good.
And it'll be great, and it's perfect. You know why? Because we also release all these episodes on Spotify. So. Cool.
Yeah, I actually just to some show updates here. Let's talk about this show and the future of the show and what's going on with the show. So
First off, I'd like to shout out GH Jolly here, seeing my skills improving. Thank you for the shout out.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. Bringing up I was worried about what messages might be popping up on your Facebook there. I'm
not very active on Facebook, so people know that nobody trusts to contact me on Facebook.
So, I'm sitting here, I think about this show, and I think about, we've got guests booked through the end of the week. We got guests next week, and I'm seeing this quarantine stuff. Eventually we're going to be out of quarantine, and how long are we going to keep this show going? So Matt and I have talked, and we're for sure going to do 40 episodes. I think 40 episodes. We're going to draw a line in the sand and determine what the future of the show is at that point in time. I'm enjoying doing the show. We're still trying to figure out exactly what our format of this program. But one thing that I am super proud of is the guests that we've been getting for this program. When you try to figure out who you want to have, do you want to bring in all the heavy hitters out of the gate? Do you want to mix it up each week and have A, B, C, so to speak, guests?
Right.
We're really just asking who we want to have on. we could certainly reach out to other folks that are a little more famous, but so far we're getting to the folks that we want to get to. And we put together a list behind the scenes. We have 350 different guests in a spreadsheet of who Matt and I would like to have on this show. So I want to reach out to our audience today, Matt, and I want to let people know that if you have a suggestion on who we should have on the show, doesn't matter how big or how small, you can send us an email at media@insidebowling.com, media@insidebowling.com, and give us who your top 3 of who you'd like to hear on the show in future weeks, as we're going to do 40 episodes for sure. The future of the show, who knows what we're going to do. But I will tell you, with my commitments that I've had over the years, I travel close to 200 days a year, which would make this show virtually impossible. Now, there are some opportunities here moving forward that we could continue doing the show, and I could choose not to go out and make money covering events in the field and providing food on the table if the show generated enough revenue through our merch store or through some sort of crowdfunding support. And I don't really like to talk about money, but this show right now, we're doing it simply because we're stuck at home.
Yep.
Now, if we get into the groove and this show becomes something, very popular that people don't want to see go away, I don't see how we continue doing the show going forward. What do you think of all of those sorts of things regarding the show, Matt?
I think someone should come off the top ropes and sign us to a deal for like $100,000 a year to produce this high quality podcast, live stream, daily show here. I think that we're worth it. I think that you'll probably see no return on your investment, but it'll definitely be worth it. Um, and I don't know, man. I think that this is fun. I think that it's nice if people can continue to support us. We should get some of the country's top amateurs and a few college bowlings talking about things in the sport. That would be good. That'd be really interesting to talk about. So appreciate that, Ryan. But yeah, we're just doing the best job that we can. We're just trying to bring some entertainment and some positive light. And like Mike said, to get the guests that we've had on so far, I mean, we've had Dave Ryan, Dave Lamont, Dave Watka, Kevin Williams, Tom Clark, Randy Peterson, Carolyn Doran Ballard, Adam Barta, Chris Barnes, Stu Williams, Tommy Jones, um, DJ Archer, these people that we've had on this show and the people we're going to continue to have. Um, it's just mind blowing, honestly. And I think that it just speaks volumes to the support that the bowling industry is always willing to give. So, yeah, if you feel like writing a personal or business $50,000 sponsorship check so we can keep this Inside Bowling show going forever, feel free to reach out, and we'll put you, we'll put you in touch with our finance people, who's basically just Mike, and we appreciate any help. Again, you guys can pick up some really cool Not Bowling Sucks and other cool merch at InsideBowling.com. You can use the discount code IB Show for 15% off. And we appreciate everybody's support, and we want to keep doing this as long as we can.
Yeah, and behind me, I've got all these things on shelves and whatnot. And I do want to tell you that I've also considered opening up a PO box where people could send us things and I would open it on the air. I have considered that. I just don't know if anybody would send anything. So if you have something you'd like to send, some bowling paraphernalia or something that you would like, maybe you're in charge of a product or something you'd like for us to open it on the show. I know we don't have millions of viewers, but we do have hundreds of thousands of viewers on the show. I'm considering doing that as well. So if you have something, send me an email at media@insidebowling.com, media@insidebowling.com. But you can also do that. But I just recently picked up a lot. And when I call, in the eBay world, a lot is known of a whole bunch of things at one time being purchased. And I have that lot of things coming that I think the people on this show are really going to want to see. And it should be here for next week's episode, maybe with Marshall Holman. It's going to be best to do this with a throwback bowler, somebody who competed against the person I bought the lot from. So I'm looking forward to opening that on the air. And a lot of these items are going to be listed on eBay, and it's things that you can pick up, and it's a way to help support the program. So the last thing I have about the show is that we did start archiving this show in audio format only through the Anchor app. And the Anchor app is a great app if you wanted to start your own show or do your own podcast. Check out Anchor. It makes it very easy for you to upload to the cloud, and then they send it out to all the different places where you can find your favorite podcasts. So we are available on Spotify. Last night we got approved for Google Play, so we're available in the Google Play Store. We're also available on Breaker. We're basically available on every podcast platform that they offer except for iTunes. But iTunes takes 7 to 10 days. And as soon as that does happen, we'll be available on iTunes as well. So go search for the Inside Bowling Show. And even if you've already listened to the show or seen the show, do us a favor, click the play button just for a few seconds. And if they have an opportunity to give a star review or type out a review, it really does help us out if you would review the program. So we would like for you to do that if you possibly can. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I use Spotify and iTunes podcast app.
Absolutely. Me too. And we thank everybody for always tuning in Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. here with Mike and myself. It's always a blast. Feel free to, again, reach out to us. Let us know who we should have. Let us know if you want to send us something to open on air. We've got another exciting show planned for tomorrow, don't we, Mike?
Yeah, we got Jim Callahan from Storm Products, tour rep, big baseball fan. So, that's what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. But just Jim is what they call him. And he suffered a heart attack about 6 or 7 years ago. And ever since he's just appreciated every single day that he's been alive. And we're looking forward to having him on the show tomorrow. He's a very entertaining guy. He's from the East Coast.
He's hilarious.
And it should be a good show.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, as always, here on Facebook and YouTube. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow.
Yep. Thanks, everybody, for a great show today. Thanks to Adam Barta, our guest. Everybody be safe, be healthy. We'll see you on Wednesday. We'll keep doing this. We're committed to 40 of them. See you later.